Hello and welcome to The Sweaty the Farmer and the Game Design, where we are in episode 78, and I don't know how to sci-fi Romanesco broccoli, dude. Like, I don't know, Romanesco teleporter or something? Jesus. This is episode number 78, rating in parkour. I am the lone gamer as The Sweaty.
And I am Lucho the Farmer. Thanks for joining us on this new episode. This will be right the fridge in the middle of the night. Cheese? No, it's Romanesco.
Oh my god. Did you eat Romanesco broccoli recently? Tell me the truth, Lucho.
No, I was actually watching a cooking YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Sorted Food.
Yeah.
And I was rewatching one of their episodes or something, and one of the guys mentioned Romanesco.
There you go. Now we are here.
Now here we are.
All right. And first, the disclaimer, right? Before I forget, like last week. So the discussion here is based on our opinions and our own in-game experiences, our own knowledge, our own lives, our own everything. So if we're wrong or you disagree with something that we say, please don't be shy. We love you all. Leave it down in the comments if you're watching us on YouTube. Otherwise, you can send us a message through or email. We read them. To our social medias, Twitter, we read all that too. Or if you know us personally to any way, shape or form you want to contact us directly, I don't know. Discord messages work. If you have our WhatsApp, that works too. I don't know. You play some game with us, you can tell us there.
Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes. All right. So, and now that you're here with us, listen to our lovely, lovely voices. Don't forget to subscribe. Click the notification bell, leave a like or a comment, or do anything social that your platform lets you. This is the best way that you can give us support for the show. All right, with all that out of the way, my friend, what do we have for this week's episode?
So for this week's episode, basically, I mean, you know how we've been following this long series of Reddit surveys about Warframe.
Correct, yeah, it's been fun. We feel a couple ones.
Yeah, and we have talked about some of the results.
Yeah.
Amongst all the craziness that has happened the last couple of weeks, we couldn't talk basically about when this latest survey came out, which is about rates in Warframe.
Cool.
So that inspired me that inspired us to talk about rates in general. What do people expect? Because I feel like now people have a very set expectation for what rates are or should be, or they picture in their heads.
Yeah, we talk about in part about this when we did our endgame focus episode.
We talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
We again took out that we talk about either the Division 2 and World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
But this is gonna be more focusing. We're gonna laser focus on rates and basically compare across the spectrum and see what can Warframe offer
as a raid environment for a raid encounter point. So so we come here to focus in the raid experience in general, more than the generalized point of an endgame or something like that.
Yeah, it's very specific.
Yeah.
Because as we talked before, the endgame is a small thing.
Yeah. So to begin with, the raid is supposed to be one but not the only part of endgame content, right? And back in episode 17, we made a definition of endgame, which is a clearly designed activity with an aspiration goal. Has this changed for us or not? Do you feel the same about this definition that we did a year ago or something like that?
I feel exactly the same.
You feel exactly the same. It's still a clear design activity with an aspiration goal, right?
Have it changed for you after?
No, like it's weird because I will say yes and no. It's not that the definition doesn't work anymore. Is that my feeling towards the definition has changed? Like what does it mean to have an aspirational goal in an in-game game? Change from person to person. What I mean is like this aspirational goal, which the activity is designed, can vary from person to person.
Up to 100%.
Right? That's what it changed in the definition for me, right? That this aspirational goal doesn't have to be set in absolute stone for everybody, but it can mean different things for each person, right?
Do you have an example of that in your head?
For example, for a lot of people, it means a lot to just do the raid, complete it, than have a specific achievement about it, or to do it in a higher difficulty, or to make it X, Y, or Z modification, right? Which is clearly a more bigger aspirational goal that the same activity proposes in their design. But it doesn't mean the same thing for everybody, and not everybody consider that the absolute end of the aspirational goal, right? So with that in mind, I feel that the raid should have a collection of aspirational goals, just more than a single one.
I see what you mean,
yeah,
and I do agree with you that what is aspirational for one person is definitely going to be different to a different player.
Yeah.
How I would reconcile that with our original definition is that no, like it's not that you can fit multiple like aspirational goals on the same activity. It's that the activity like you cannot control how players approach the activity.
Yeah.
But when you design the activity, it was on purpose designed to produce this aspirational goal.
Yes.
It was not by accident, or it's not something that came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like that didn't change because the inspiration or part of the inspiration for our original definition is to take into account the intention of the creator.
Yep. Yeah.
That it has to be something that was put on purpose in the game.
Correct.
And in that sense, like either if each player's approach to the activity or to this piece of content is different, the activity itself was still designed with that in mind.
Yep. Correct. Yes. But I think
I know where you're coming from.
Yeah, I'm mentioning more because it's advantage to be more aware of that approach that the players are gonna have when you are designing this kind of activity.
Absolutely, it's something. Yeah, I mean, it's like I will say that more often than not, the more flexible your design in general is, the better.
Yeah,
most cases.
Yeah, I will say that. So yeah,
here and there.
or definition still works, basically.
Yes.
Or definition.
You have to be aware that basically you cannot control how.
Yeah.
You know. Like I started watching content from this guy that plays Trackmania.
All right, yeah.
Which, for those who are not aware, is this racing game. where people build their own tracks. You basically compete in this game, and like it's super competitive.
Okay.
But all there is to compete for is like to basically complete each track as fast as possible. It's super competitive, but and like people break the game in different ways. So how do they achieve that?
Yeah.
And I was thinking about like how this is endgame, and it's like, yeah, I mean, whenever the people who made the game designed it, it was clearly designed just to let people run as fast as they can. whatever that means.
Yeah, is something different. Yeah.
I think that. Just that's the end game. Just do it as fast as you can, however you can.
Yeah. So yes. So it's like be more aware of like what the definition, like, because it sounds pretty and everything else, but it's really more.
There is a lot of nuance behind.
Yeah, it's really more a lot more nuance that you think. So yeah, our definition still works. We are good.
I mean, it's also kind of a reminder there for
the new people,
for those who have joined us in the middle of the journey.
Yeah,
that are not re-listening to episode 17.
Yeah. Everything is in YouTube. If you want to go, there it is. You can go and listen to it.
We more than invite you, but
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we can save the hassle and
yes. Yeah, if you want to go check, we strongly suggest that you go check, because we go a lot deep of what aspirational goals means, what endgame should be, and everything else in between. So yeah. So we we bring back here because we're gonna talk about this specific part of endgame. So to remind you about our definition, to be able to move forward on what we have in the head when we are going into this design exercise, basically.
Yeah.
All right. So first of all, to design a raid, on where we go, what do we need? We need encounter design. Basically, the raid is a big and complex encounter. A big ass encounter. All right, so that's what a raid is. If you have ever experimented a dungeon, is that but bigger with more things to do. It generally has bigger lore requirements, sometimes not, or have sometimes outside of the normal dungeons, more people, more complex things to do, more requirements to do it. It can be defined in a bunch of ways depending on the game. But basically, it's a big and important encounter inside the game, right?
I think size it's one of the defining.
Yeah, size is one of the defining of the raid.
It is the biggest.
It is the biggest encounter in general.
It is the biggest for that game.
Yeah.
But because, I mean, maybe we should explain what we mean by encounter.
All right.
Because okay, that makes sense. Like for example, we have played tabletop RPG for many years.
Yes.
And we in there we always talk about designing encounter.
Correct.
So the word encounter made sense to us, but maybe not everyone.
To people. All right, so let me think about an example of this. All right, so it's
like,
yeah.
I can tell you what I've.
There you go. Go ahead.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, go.
And it's basically when you're in a game, like you put the players in a place, like with a set amount of goals that they have to fulfill in that place.
Yeah. And
you put different obstacles for that. That's an encounter, and I would call it encounter because it was designed on purpose. Like for me, the difference is if you are, for example, in an open world game.
Yeah.
It's not like these things don't happen at random.
Yes, correct. It's not like if you go in exploring and suddenly you find a boss or mobs or any type of enemy. That is not technically an encounter because it's not designed with a purpose. It's just something that the living world or your interaction with the game gives you naturally, right? But raids as an encounter are specifically designed for you to have this very grandiose or experience when you go to a place and it's kind of pre-designed and everything else.
And what differentiates a raid from other encounters in a specific game, I guess, is the size and kind of the overall magnitude of the encounter.
Yeah. So, and by that we mean it can be longer than the other experiences. It can have more players than other experiences. It is generally multi-layer, so you have various stages of the encounter where different things happen, and that's kind of what a raid fundamentally is. It's just a bigger, pre-designed activity compared with the other activities that you do normally in the game, I think.
But size is, in my head, a fundamental.
Yeah, it's one of the most clearly. is one of the most clear aspects of raiding, the size and the time and etc. etc. All right. So that is what a raid is in any game. A big ass encounter, important, pre-designed, and given for a specific experience. So, what does a good raid encounter entails?
That's a very good and a very difficult question at the same time.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of things in a raid, as in any other encounter in the game, and this includes 2 dungeons, that you have to have in mind when you're doing one of these. And the first one is level design, because generally it's longer than any other experience and it's not like fully explorable or auto-generated or something like that. That is very important, and more so if you want to deliver a lore punch inside the game, if you're gonna deliver a climax to a story, which generally raids are, or a very important exploration point in the world, or a very sacred kind of dungeon with a big treasure at the end, right? Yeah. So you need a very solid level design that transmit that through the encounter. Like to transmit the grandiose of the lore side that you're going. Not only that, but it has to be interesting and manable and good for the players. And yeah, it has to be pretty and impressive because it's a raid. Yeah.
I mean, because if we're being, like, if we strip down what many games consider raids.
Yeah.
They're just a bunch of arenas connected by corridor.
Yes.
But if that's what you put in the game, that's not gonna feel good.
Yes.
That's what they are. Like if you strip it down.
Yeah, because you can straight up do that. Just like an arena, a corridor.
You can ignore the corridors.
A corridor.
You can have one arena.
Yeah, you can just have an arena, and another arena, right? But that is like the core of.
You don't even need that. You can have one arena.
And bring all the things there.
The bosses one at a time in the arena. But that wouldn't feel like a raid. That doesn't transmit the sense of game.
Yeah, because again, you want to present this grandiose experience. Is the pinnacle of your game. Is the cream of the cream. So you want to invest a lot of level designers there to do something beautiful, functional, and pretty to look at, and that transmits whatever is your intention. If your raid experience lore wise is important for you, which 90% of them are.
I
right?
feel like more than just being pretty is you want to assign environments and levels that make the players feel small.
Yeah.
so that it transmits, so that it enforces the sense of that the player is taking part in something bigger
than
itself, and this is the big set piece, the big explosion at the end of the story.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so that's our level design. It has to be pretty. It has to have flowers in big castles.
I mean, that's where the word right comes from.
Yeah.
From, like raiding castles and like big fortifications.
Yeah.
Imagine how boring would it be if we were raiding a closet.
Yeah. So that's very important, and it helps it to be memorable, right? The environments, and that helps the raid to be memorable.
Absolutely,
time, right? So that's on the top of all things. Like a raid can be like super simple, can have easy encounters, can have little to no lore implications, but if it doesn't feel grandiose, it doesn't have that punch.
Yeah.
There we go. If it doesn't have at least multi-levels or multi-arenas, it won't feel much like a raid. All right. The next important thing is mechanic design. The other important thing about a raid is like it has to use every single part of your game. And what I mean that is like, because it's the pinnacle of your experience in the game, you have to put the strain on the player for everything. The player has to know how to jump, how to shoot, how to use his class properly, how to press all the buttons, and everything else in between. And the raid has to take advantage of that expectation for the player. When the player not only has to know how to play the game, but he has to know how to play the game properly, and even doing weird things inside it that never been done before.
I mean, more than that is that, like, from a philosophical point of view, we want to sell the idea that this raid encounter is the end all be all of the game, or the specific experience that you're designing. Like it will be dissonant if you can just completely ignore all the mechanics that you put in your own game. Like if you can just close your eyes and press one key and you feel it. Like that doesn't contribute to the tone that we're trying to set. To sell that idea of something bigger than life. Whenever if you do it in a way that requires what you just mentioned, using all the parts of the game, or all the mechanics, or all the pieces, or the systems in the game, will help give the player that feeling of, I know Kung Fu. Because on top of that, you're making him doing something very unique in raids, which are generally raid mechanics, which comes here, right? Beyond using the mechanics of your normal play-to-play game. In big part, how you force players to be proficient in all the mechanics of the game is by putting encounters that where the players have to use all the systems.
Correct. Yeah. So the raid mechanic phrase that you listen everywhere when you're doing a raid in almost all the games, it comes from the designers forcing the players to be challenged inside the content, inside the encounter, right?
Yeah.
And it gives that unique taste of the raid when you're like, oh, it's such a different experience. You have to know what to do, and you have not only know how to play the game properly, but know how to do everything else. Do whatever special tasks they're asking you on the encounter. So that's I think that's the spirit of a raid mechanic, trying to make the player feel proficient in the game, right? That have to be the experience of whatever you want to make him do. Step on things, not
whatever,
stepping on things.
whatever that means for your game is.
Yeah.
you want the player to experience that
Correct.
I know Kung Fu moment.
Correct. And that is,
moment.
yeah, and from this, I think from this comes one of the most elusive feelings for players, that is feel like satisfied. Like,
For sure.
that was cool.
Yeah.
It comes from this side of the raid encounter design. All right. Yeah. Say what is it?
Which is it, I was gonna say that it's part of the success of. I'm gonna go on a tangent here.
All right, go ahead.
It's part of the success of Monster Hunter, of like being such a good game, is that by the way that they design their fights,
yeah,
they are very successful at providing that feeling of I killed this difficult monster with this cumbersome weapon.
Yeah,
and all together comes into that feeling of I know.
Yeah. Exactly. Very, very. It makes the player feel very skilled, very satisfied in that sense. All right. Our third point of developer a good raid is the actual bosses and ads. The actual things that you're fighting against.
The actual obstacle, or one of the versions of the actual obstacles that you.
So, and I mean, like, how big a boss he has, if he has like several forms, if he deploys ads, and how do you manage those ads? If you want it to feel super chaotic, if you want to feel super control, if it's important inside the lore thing, if you are actually killing a major character or not, and how are you gonna design him, and how are you gonna make him look and do things. That's the other important thing. If you want to have one or two bosses at the same time, if you're gonna have deployed ads per waves or not, if you're gonna have a boss which just begins with a bunch of ads and then you fight the bigger boss. All right?
Correct.
And yeah, that's important. We like to hit cool things in the face. Especially if they have, I don't know, weak points and that sort of stuff.
I mean, more than that, it is. If the raid is gonna serve as a. How do you say it? As a climax of the game that you're playing.
Yeah. All right, yeah.
I mean, that means that you're fighting against against a meaningful enemy.
Yeah.
It's not a small fry.
Generally, an army or like ginormous bosses, for some reason, even if they're normal characters, they make them huge.
It's the subtle illusion
of grandeur. Yeah, it's that same effect. Yeah, I know. That's part of it, and
or it's because all the bosses are doing in the Power Ranger universe, and they get a side boost from.
They get a Rita Repulsa. Steroids calling from the moon.
Maybe that's what happens.
I wonder if that's still happening in the Power Rangers now. Like, I think so. No like idea. People get big randomly.
I really hope so. Listen, we're talking about like the 90s series.
So. No. The last time that I saw a Power Rangers like Japanese proper Power Ranger series, because they still make them.
I know they still make them. I'm just saying that I'm talking about the old days.
Yes, the old original Power Rangers. They still make them, and I think this was 2016 when I last watched one of these things, and the things are still getting big. And so
cool. That's a staple of the genre.
Staple of the genre. All right, and man, our tangents are weird. And finally. And the fourth thing that is important in a raid is, of course, as we've been hinting in the past points, is the lore implications, the narrative that the raid has. What story are you concluding? What pieces of lore are you giving them in the raid? All the games have very different ways to show this. Some games give them through the environment. Some games give them in the lore and in the pieces of lore scattered through the level when you are going from one arena to other. You're solving a puzzle before the other. For Destiny has this when you have like pieces of lore scattered through the activity.
Yeah.
Or you can do it directly with the encounters, the bosses giving you the lore and doing the monologue as you give it at the beginning of the last WoW raid in Castle Nitro, where Saturday Nitros give you the introduction to the raid and blah blah blah, and this is my castle and blah blah blah, and you have the cinematic at the end, and yeah. And that's the fourth thing. Not all the raids, and we put this at the end because raids are such a mechanic. There's so much important in level design and mechanic design in the raid that sometimes you can skip the lore implications and make a contained experience inside the actual encounter, right? It's not that the raids are devoid of it's not that the raids are devoid of narrative. It's that they can be their own thing and doesn't have to like be part of the main narrative in the game, right? That's why it's at the end, right? It's like you can a little bit disconnected from one another.
Definitely, since the focus is to challenge and push players to hashtag get good.
Yeah.
And like the mechanic side of things comes first, and comes first most of the time.
Yeah, most of the time. Because there is a big discussion here where if your raid is the lore culmination of your game, then it should be accessible for everybody. And that kind of puts it against the aspirational goal design, original design of the activity. So, yeah.
which is something very contentious because...
Yeah.
Because if you can make it super difficult so that you can achieve that feeling of satisfaction.
Yeah.
But then if it is a big important part of the story that you're telling and not everyone can reach it, it's messy and complicated.
Yeah. That's why
many things go wrong.
Yeah, that's why I insist that lore implication should be like the last thing unless you're prepared to do that contention. All right, so to recapitulate, 4 things that makes a good raid: level design, mechanics design, encounter, bosses and ads, how the boss is looking, and lore implications. All right. Okay, we are all clear on that. So let's see some examples of it. Let's begin with the king. Right? The king of kings.
Let's talk about what the industry is doing with raids.
Yeah, what is the industry doing with raids? So to begin with the inventor of raids, if I'm not wrong.
I don't know that.
I don't know. Like I was questioning myself last time. It was like, did EverQuest had raids? Did all these old MMORPGs had raids? Did RuneScape had raids? I think RuneScape did have raids, but RuneScape came at the same time as WoW. So those like EverQuest and the old MMORPGs had raids.
I think so.
Right? Yeah.
I think so. I'm pretty sure it did. I'm pretty sure EverQuest did.
All right, fair enough. So let's.
But definitely, like from a cultural impact point of view, WoW is or Warcraft is kind of the child, the poster child.
Yeah, that actually like showcase this kind of encounter, right?
Not only showcase it, but that was it's very good. Like the WoW raids are no matter what you think of the game in general, the WoW raids are very good.
But for WoW it's weird because if you go back and look like kind of historical content of WoW, they like the first official raid of WoW back in the day wasn't called a proper raid. It was called kind of closer to a mega dungeon, right? And I'm talking about Ragnarok's, like the first raid of
Molten Core.
Yeah, Molten Core. There you go. And if you watch like historical content about, they never call it a raid. They always call it like a super dungeon or a mega dungeon or something like that, because back in the day, the design of dungeons in World of Warcraft were closer to what a raid encounter is now, but in a reduced manner, right? Which makes sense. Like a raid is nothing more than like a super dungeon, but by now,
I mean, that's still the case.
Yeah, but by now we kind of are more sure of what the difference between the two are, right? We know that a dungeon is smaller, has less arenas, and it doesn't have that much of a narrative content, and is supposed to be like quicker. And then there is the raid, when it's supposed to be longer, more complex, etc., etc. And World of Warcraft still have the in between, which is they still have mega dungeons. We are like 3 phases dungeon, but they're not quite a raid. I don't know. For them being the progenitor, they kind of like blur the line between all that. But my point is, they started from the dungeon point and scale it so far to make an entire new type of encounter. That's my point.
Yeah, but that's what it has always been.
Yeah. So, what is this standard that put WoW with the raid? So many bosses is the first thing that I will say.
I mean, what made them not popular, but like what made them a talking point at the beginning, was the scale, both the number of bosses and the amount of people that you needed.
Correct.
Because for Molten Core, you needed 40 people,
which was insane amounts of people back in the day.
it still is insane to gather 40 people
to do a thing in a video game. Yes, absolutely. Oh my god!
That's an everyday occurrence.
All right, so let's go. Let's take the raid style of World of Warcraft and take with our 4 points. So, how good is level design in World of Warcraft raids?
I think it's one of the simplest level design.
Yes,
because and it has gotten more complex with time.
Correct.
But it's still very evident that it is just a bunch of arenas connected by core.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't feel like for example, Molten Core is a big cave.
Yes, correct.
And that's all it is. Which
yes.
It was the first one, so you can you can check it out. But for example, right, it's like Castle Nitro, which is the current one.
We are literally raiding a castle.
We're literally raiding a castle, but more than that, if you think of, like, even though it feels complex and you can get lost, which is a huge part of what makes it feel like a real castle.
Yeah.
It still feels at points just like you're walking in between arenas. It doesn't really feel like its own thing. Yeah.
We the art is pretty. I will say that about the level design.
No, what I will say is that where the level design shines, is that for each fight, the fight itself uses the environment in a very smart way.
Correct.
Like the level design doesn't shine on the design of the whole thing as a
correct.
whole.
Yeah.
But if you look at each arena, it serves a very meaningful purpose for the most part for the fight.
So it's more contained that the level design is very good inside the actual arena encounters.
And it's
more
very
so
good
than the whole thing.
Yeah, and I say that it's good because it feels intertwined with each fight as well. So like you cannot have the boss without the room or the boss
where you fight the boss. Yes, correct. Yeah. So yeah,
that's in my opinion the success of the
World
level
of
design.
Yeah.
No, of the level design in
World Raids.
World of Warcraft Raids.
Yeah. When the level design serves very well the encounter with the boss.
Yeah.
All right. How about the mechanics in World of Warcraft Raids? Again,
that's something that has evolved.
Yes.
Impressively over the years.
So yeah. So how the molten core mechanics? I think there is not that many, right?
I mean, there are very simple.
Yeah.
Like overall, very simple mechanics of, he's gonna make a cone attack. Don't stand in the cone.
The cone, yeah.
Move away.
Yeah.
Or this is a big. There's a big attack coming, so it's moment for the healers to heal up.
Yep.
Or like, it's reduced to things like that for the most part.
Yeah.
Or like, there are these bosses are three little bosses.
Yes.
It's very, you have to keep them apart, or you have to keep them together.
Put it together.
It's no more than those kind of mechanics.
Yeah, and they have evolved with time. Where now, on top of that, we have like.
As time goes on, they have added so many mechanics, and to give you an example, which one is a good example?
What? Take any fight from Castle Natria. Well, the majority.
Okay, Castle Natria has a good mix of fights with little to no mechanics.
Yeah.
Shriekwing, which is the first boss, it has basically 3 mechanics.
Yeah.
Which is don't stand in front of him.
Yes.
Get a line of sight something.
Yes.
And then just
play
bullet hell.
Avoid the moving things.
Play bullet. Those are the 3 mechanics.
Yeah.
Sludge Fist is also a very simple mechanic-wise fight.
Yes. I would probably say that, I don't know.
Inerva is a very mechanic-intensive fight.
Yeah, Inerva. There you go.
So, and why do we say that is mechanic-intensive? So I'm going to try to describe in a few words.
Go ahead. Try.
So basically the fight is split in 4 like mini phases.
Yes.
Each phase has a different each phase has a different set of mechanics that you have to deal with.
Yes.
So basically each phase has 1 mechanic. Each mechanic has 3 different versions of 3 difficulties of the mechanic.
Yeah.
The base version of the mechanic for like all the basic 4 mechanics work across all the fight. But depending on which phase of the fight you're gonna have to deal with the more difficult versions as you move across.
Yes.
So basically you have to, in a sense, you have to remember like 12 different mechanics, more or less, but they are not at play all the time, and not all the fight, like not all the time that you do the encounter, they are gonna happen the same way, because the fight evolves depending on how fast can you deal with the DPS and the overall flow of the fight.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So basically, sometimes you can fight it and you can deal. For the first phase, I only deal with the basic case of the mechanic. But for the second phase, I deal with the most difficult case, and then I have a different, like each time, depending on how your group is dealing with the fight.
Yes.
You will have a different mix of all these mechanics, which means that you as a player have to be aware of how the mechanics are triggered, which in the case of that specific fight is just some
meters or timers or
meters
whatever
on the screen, which you can control, like the actual you can control how fast or slow the meters fill and empty.
Yeah.
And depending on those, that like you keep an eye on those, and by looking at those, you should know which combination of mechanics are you dealing with at the moment.
Yeah. So I think the point is
the point is that there are a lot of things that you have to remember.
And the point is like by now World of Warcraft has so much time to polish their mechanic design inside the raids that you have a great feeling every time you do a fight properly.
and it feels good.
Yeah.
Now, whenever you are with a raid group who can one shot one of these mechanic intensive fights,
it's like meh.
It feels, it's not, but it still feels good.
Yeah.
Because it's like you can see how everyone knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
You see how everyone
knows
can execute all this bunch of things at once. Not at perfection, because there are always mistakes, but
yeah.
And then when you see it, that's a very satisfying feeling.
Absolutely. So they're polished. It's because they're pioneers on it. So by now they're polished so much. These encounters that they're getting good. What? I
don't know if they're pieces, because games before them had raids.
But they polish.
They have definitely had the time to put a lot of
And this is the this is the big reasons why I love World of Warcraft mechanics. Because World of Warcraft raids, because they're very good at delivering this feel of satisfaction in their encounters.
They are, and the mechanics are very challenging. When you're doing progression to a raid, it's very challenging. It takes a good amount of time to, for each player to reach to that moment of I know Kung Fu, where you understand what the whole encounter is all.
Yeah, correct.
Or you can distill the encounter to its purest form, and once you're able to that, you kind of understand what the point of the fighting.
Yeah, what you have to do, what the other peoples have to do, and everything else to be successful is great. But this is
that takes time, and that's what I'm saying. That's what it's satisfying.
Yeah.
From WoW raids is that that you put a lot of time into reaching that point, and when you get it, it's like, I get it.
So good.
No, you finally understand what the fight is about.
And and this, I think that's the strong suit of WoW raids. At least for me, that's how I feel it. That's why I like most of World of Warcraft raids. The mechanics
are very polished by this point, for sure. I feel like our place where they succeed a lot is in delivering the scale from it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because it's like first, there's nothing bigger in the game, but in a game where like social interactions are so important. Like wow. Like they very consciously design mechanics that won't work. Like encounters that you won't be able to overcome if the teamwork is not on point.
Yes.
And that's all very aligned with how WoW is designed as a general. WoW is definitely designed as a socially dependent game where like cooperation and communication is kind of the baseline for a lot of these things. And they succeed a lot in designing encounters that basically cannot be completed
without that part.
That coordination. And like when you're taking part of a team who can like one shot a boss or something like that, it delivers that feeling of not only I know Kung Fu, but I'm in a group of people and we all know what we're doing, and like that hero team, like the hero team moment of we are all our peak. That's a very good feeling, like cool
absolutely
feeling.
Absolutely, it's absolutely fantastic. Yes,
and I think that's where it's more successful. It's in actually delivering that feeling of I need these people. because it's and you have experienced this. It's rare the case where one player can make or break an encounter.
Yes, correct.
Like not make or break, like make it. Like one player, like only one player can break.
Yeah.
And that it's the design is so tight that they can achieve that.
Yes, correct.
It's very hard to carry one person. It's not that it's impossible because it happens, but at least during progress, like the community is learning or progressing through the current content. It's very unlikely, and that's very cool.
Yeah. All right. How about bosses and ads in World of Warcraft raids?
They all serve the purpose.
Are they cool? They're cool. There's you have some very cool monster design inside the raids, and they deliver with like the final bosses and the ads to control too. We've been killed by ads randomly inside the raid, which have mini mechanics and teach you to be like more careful when what you're doing, which is cool.
You know, yeah, that's something that's very good. It's that usually a trash or like the small ads that you fight before each boss.
Yeah,
have not mini or like have simplified versions of the boss mechanic.
Yes.
Which is kind of priming you for the encounter. I think that's very cool.
Yeah. It's super cool, and the actual bosses are all very cool. Of course, you start. I feel this in the majority of the raid in World of Warcraft, where you start with the smaller bosses.
they definitely tried that, yeah.
And then you move to the big ass dude.
the big boy.
Yeah, the big boy. So yeah. Like if you think about it, the first boss in Casonachi is actually just a big gargoyle.
Yeah.
Right? And then you pass to the dogs, which are just a normal dude with dogs. Right?
Yeah.
And then you pass to the Sun King, which is just a normal dude in chains with a smaller, bigger.
Okay. That fight has a lot of lore implications, like very cool lore implications.
Yeah. I'm not talking about lore. I'm talking just purely about the design of the bosses. And then you move to bigger things like the bigger blue dude in the basement, and then Slugfish is a huge towering gargoyle, and then the Naturus is big too with their sword. So yeah,
or a big vampire.
Yeah, a big vampire daddy, I guess.
Big vampire daddy.
So yeah,
yes.
I would say like in the bosses in World of Warcraft are cool, and the ads too. The manage of the ads and the small mechanics that they put in the ads are very good. And finally, lore implications of World of Warcraft. The majority of lore implications is like bookend to stuff, right? Except in Classic, right? We were having a discussion about this before. That the Molten Core doesn't have a big. It has a place in the lore of World of Warcraft, yes, but it's not like the big end. But Castle naturally does feel like a big bookend for the lore.
Castle naturally is definitely assigned to like it's the bow that wraps that is the story that they're telling in this first part. Yeah,
correct. So there you go. That's why World of Warcraft raids are so good. They check all the boxes very well for the most part, right?
I definitely think that their stronger suit is the mechanic side of the raids,
which is good because
good. I'm not saying it's not, but I'm saying that's the strongest. Like it's not. How do I say this?
I don't know. I'm not in your head.
it amplifies all the design choices that World of Warcraft as a game made.
Yeah.
So World of Warcraft is socially dependent. Right, is the most socially dependent activity.
Yeah.
Not only because you need more people, 10 or more,
but you need the coordination of those people.
But you need those people to be coordinated. So it, like, you really depend on these other people.
Yeah.
World of Warcraft is very good at forcing players to get good with their like to kind of like through the difficulty. It does a very good job at forcing players at like learning their class.
Yeah.
And like you have to know like for example the fact that the fights are so filled with mechanics.
Yeah.
Means that if you wanna learn those mechanics, you have to hit a step with your class or with the class that you're playing where you feel comfortable not paying attention to the basic thing that you're doing.
Yeah.
Either tanking, damage dealing, or healing. You have to be comfortable enough doing the basic so that you can you can kind of do that without thinking, and you can pay attention to the things that you have to do now, which is move here, move there, swap targets, move enemies from one place to another, heal, dispel, whatever the thing is that you're doing. It does a very good job at forcing you to learn your class, and whenever you're done, you really do feel inadequate.
Correct. Yeah. All right. So big strong swing there for World of Warcraft raids. Our next one is 14 raids.
It's 14 stake.
Yeah, 14 takes in raid. So level design. My God, these things are beautiful.
I would argue they're better looking than Dwarf.
Yeah, holy Jesus. These things look absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, in terms of level design, well, the ones that I don't know if you played farther than me, but the ones that I experienced are very basic.
I have played farther than you because I'm already playing the last piece
there you
of
go. So the ones that I experienced are fairly kind of similar to the arenas and corridors.
They are arenas and corridors.
Yeah.
But in my experience, and I have only done this up to like LFR levels of.
Me too. Yeah.
It feels like, for example, the environments don't take that big of a stage presence in the encounter. Like the level itself, like the arena itself, it's not more than that.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
No, it's like this a square where you have this fight. Or this circle have this fight.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's a beautiful arena. It's a beautiful square.
Absolutely.
Gorgeous circle.
Yeah.
But mechanically speaking, most of the time is not more than that.
Yeah, I agree with you. With that experience. Yeah, and like the ones that I experienced doesn't have that many ads between the encounters. They have more of environmental puzzles that involves the ad. Like you want to open this bridge, you have 3 groups standing here, there, and there. And then you kill this ad.
But even those puzzles are not really puzzles. Are just like, it's everyone here. Okay, now you can go. Yeah.
It's kind of super simplistic. But in terms of visual, they're gorgeous.
Oh no, they're gorgeous, and they definitely put their shapes into looking good.
Yeah.
And the bosses. The rest is secondary for that.
So mechanics design in 14, I don't have much to say because we haven't experienced like the actual difficult mode.
We haven't experienced the most challenging mode.
Yeah.
I have experienced like the LFR difficulty and like the normal side of raiding.
All right, at least you have done normal. I've done just LFR.
And it's And by LFR we mean like the matchmaking version.
Yeah, and it's super easy. It's like it's easier. It's easier mode.
To be clear, it's the automatic matchmaking version.
Yeah.
Those rates. Yeah, I cannot speak for the higher difficulties. At least in what I have done.
Yeah.
They feel like most of the fights are more. And even like parts of the mechanics, and when you face enemies, it's more about DPS checks
than anything else.
Than anything else. And they have mechanics, like, but are kind of the usual thing of, you have all these things that appear. So you have all to move to one place. Or now there is this big effect that is going to push you in one direction and potentially out of the arena.
Yeah.
So all of you have to run to this place. Or things like, now all these things are going to explode, so you have to DPS raise them to kill them before they explode and kill you all.
Yeah.
Or, now there is this version of fire on the ground that you have to get away from, and you have to do it fast, because if you don't do it fast, you're going to die.
All right. So...
But it's not... And even the ones that I have experienced that have a lot of things, like...
Yeah.
A lot of things pushing you, a lot of things making you move, a lot of things making you do stuff.
Yeah.
It's never felt, in my limited experience, as involved as WoW.
Fair enough.
But what I will give 14 is that each boss feels more... It feels bigger. You know what I mean? Like the bosses in 14 are never...
Yeah.
This dude with a pistol.
No. All right, so the mechanics are kind of, for what we experience, we could be wrong, right? Because we haven't experienced like absolutely top of the 14 rating. But for what we experienced in Limited, seems like kind of normalish, like kind of simplistic, nothing super complicated or anything else. Bosses and ads in 14, bosses feels insane. They're never the small dude. They're always like this ginormous face of demon floating in the air.
No, but more than that, they succeed very much in selling the feeling of you're definitely fighting something bigger than life.
Yes, absolutely. All the time.
It's never this, this is a little pirate and this is your enemy now.
Yeah, this is a dude with dogs, as we described before.
Yeah, it's not, this is a vampire guy with dogs.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Fun. Yeah.
Which don't get me wrong, in WoW that's a fun fight.
Yes.
But it's fun because of the mechanics.
Correct.
A lot of the fights in 14 are fun because of the thing that you're fighting looks amazing. And just fun to fight.
Yeah.
Not because you have to dance in a complicated way around it.
Yeah, like it looked like the visual flair and how they do this stuff is super crazy. Yeah. Yeah, so absolutely, like, this is the strong suit of 14 in my opinion. The boss's design in the ads, is super good, right? And like,
it's top tier. The music of 14 is top tier, for example.
And he's taking advantage of the 14 of the Final Fantasy style, like absolutely advantage of the Final Fantasy style, right?
Absolutely, it's something that like the style of Final Fantasy in general is something that many other games have tried to emulate,
but no,
none has really captured.
Yeah. So and finally the lore implications in 14 rates. They generally like the ones that I experienced. They generally were conclusions to story points.
It depends it depends on the rate.
So they're more like the more beyond are more contained in their own narrative stuff.
It's yes, right. and this happens because since 14 is a more narratively driven game.
Yeah,
they are very aware that what they're selling is the story.
Okay, yeah.
Which means that to deliver a satisfying story for most players, they cannot put the most challenging raids as part of the story because they don't want to.
People to
They
be.
don't want to.
Yeah.
They don't want people who don't want to take part into that content.
Yeah.
To not experience the main appeal of the game, which is the story.
Fair enough. Yeah. Imagine.
So, and there are also a lot of raids who are only accessible through side quests. It's not that the side quest doesn't have lore implications that are important and meaningful for the overall world of the game.
Yeah.
But they are not part of the main story that they are telling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I get it. Yes.
So for example, I think wasn't it Stormblood? There is one collection of raids where you fight this big, like kind of alien entity.
Yeah.
And that puts you like in a what's the name? Like an arena style.
Okay.
Combat with many things and transform, and it's very cool. It's very cool encounters.
Yeah.
And it has very nice lore implication.
Very low
for
lore
the world, but
right.
but not for the story of 14.
Yep.
like not for the story of the Warrior of Light.
Yeah. So
like,
this is more of the example where, as we said before, like the lore is more contained inside the experience, right? Yeah. But still, they're right. There you go. All right, that's 14. Stronger suit. Their visuals, and they have more lore contained. Right.
There is one thing that I want to mention, and is that due to a difference in how they due to the fact that they are story-driven game, they have this in between place.
Yeah.
Called trial.
Yeah.
Which are like big bosses, like just one big boss, like one great encounter.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's usually on those where they deliver
the punches, the big lore punches.
Yeah, exactly. The story punches are usually in trials. What they call raids, which are just multiple trials connected by corridors.
Yeah. Okay.
Those are usually that's what they are.
Yeah.
Those are usually separated from
the actual main lore thing.
From the actual main lore. You know, you wanna hear something that is funny? Do you remember when you were playing through A Realm Reborn?
Yeah.
At some point, they make you do the story the side quest of the Crystal Tower.
Yes, correct.
That was a retroactive change that they made. Like the Crystal Tower story was always a side story.
Oh, so they actually put it like it wasn't. So you just pass to the next story chapter.
You could.
You could just go to the Frozen City and begin the next expansion. Okay.
Yes. And you could do it because again, the Crystal Tower is a raid, so they don't want to put raids as obstacles for the story progression.
Yeah.
That's always been the case. But at some point, whether they made what happened with on the Crystal Tower storyline part of the main story that they're telling.
So that's why they bring it in?
That's why that specific raid is mandatory to advance the main story quest.
Because what happened there, like after they use it for the main lore,
is important for Shadowbringers.
Wow. Okay.
So and what was happening is that people were just people say just play the main story quest. So you can play all the main story quests, ignoring all the side quests, even the ones that open instances.
Yeah.
And then you will reach Shadowbringers and you will be lost.
Oh,
what is this Crystal Tower? Who's this Crystal Tower guy?
Yeah, what is this implication of like what happened in the portal? They come back and the power and all that sort of stuff that happens.
So you have that specific instance of basically a raid side story.
Yeah, so basically a safe content lore that they use after, so they have to bring it into the main narrative.
Because they are focused on narrative.
Yeah. Oh, that's a very cool, interesting case in 14. There you go. where again their focus is narrative. So there you go. All right, Destiny 2. Or as I call it, the hot potato rates.
For me, what makes them interesting is that...
All right, let's go step by step. Level design. They are platformers, basically, right?
It's like the encounters for Destiny rates are not... Like, what they bring new to a table is that some of the encounters are puzzles or platforms.
Yes, correct.
Like there are encounters in itself where the encounter is just solve this jumping puzzle or solve this puzzle in general.
Yeah.
That's what they bring new to a table, is that one of the encounter forms that they deliver is that.
Yes, correct.
Which is new, like on its own, it's new and has its own value.
Correct. And in mechanics design, they use the platformers to move you up, but basically, like, because the mechanics of playing Destiny 2 is just FPS mechanic, and limited ability management is not that complex. And what I mean that is you can take like a fairly new player to a raid and be successful with it, well, if he knows how to do puzzles in platforms without him knowing 100% how to manage their own class, right?
It also comes like you kind of have to do it due to the size restriction.
Yeah.
Because let's be clear, like the usual quote-unquote activities in Destiny are like 3-man activities.
Yes, correct.
At least for PvE.
Yeah.
Raids are 6-man activities.
Yeah.
Which it's barely more than half what the minimum requirement for WoW is, for example.
Yeah.
Or it's kind of on par with 14 trials, which are full parties of 8 players.
8 players, yeah.
So if you have a team or a group of 6 people and you assign mechanics that will undoubtedly fail if one person is not doing their job, then it will be completely inaccessible just due to the size of the activity.
Correct. Yeah.
So the mechanics themselves have to be a little bit more forgiving on individual mistakes.
Yes, correct.
You cannot overburden it that way.
Yeah, but it's weird because I feel like Destiny 2 rates center a lot about level design and the puzzles that you put than anything else, right?
Oh, they are absolutely like it's a core tenet of grading in Destiny 2.
Yeah. You have to know how to move your dude across the level design puzzles. So that's the focus. That's the focus of Destiny 2. The levels are pretty. And in the side of the bosses and ads, generally all the raids of Destiny 2 have one final big boss. And all the encounters before are environmental puzzles against ads, which is another thing unique about Destiny raids.
Is that true?
Yeah, think about it. Leviathan. What do you do in Leviathan? Kill a bunch of ads, open doors. Go and kill some beasties and put it in the center and then open a chest.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
They're all level design based encounters.
They are all...
Till you get to the last boss, which you kill a big dude.
You're 100% right.
Yeah, all of the raids are the same. The beginning ones. They changed paradigm in terms of boss killing. In the raid that I wanted to do and you don't want it to do because it was super long and we had things about it, right? That's the only raid which has a lot of bosses, which is Shattered Throne. No, it's not Shattered Throne. It's the Last Wish.
Okay.
Yeah, that raid has a lot of bosses. Has like the first encounter is a big Goliath dude. The next encounter is a big witch with level design puzzles. The next encounter is another two big witches, and then the last encounter is the big dragon, right? But generally, in general, the majority of raids in Destiny has a more emphasis in level design. And of course, in the last raids, they had kind of been experimenting with that. As I said, like Last Wish has more bosses encounters. The next one, which was the one that we were doing, which is the garden, you'd notice that we have a boss that we're chasing all the time.
Correct.
But it's just one boss, right? We're chasing all the time through level design puzzles.
Yeah, through different puzzles.
Correct, right?
Yeah, and the difficulty, like solving the puzzle while not getting murdered by that.
Correct. So yeah, and they've been experimenting with it, right? Experimenting with that formula. But if you notice, all the year one raids is the same thing. Like all the Leviathan, Either Words, and
yeah, no, you're right.
And
you're
Spire
right.
of Stars is all go do puzzle, and then find a big boss and kill the big boss while you're doing a level design puzzle. Right?
You're right.
Yeah. I like Destiny 2 raids. And the lore implications of Destiny 2 raids, generally they are the culmination of stuff.
Yes.
So Leviathan was the culmination of the Red War, because this new Cabal dude came in and you go into the ship. Last Wish was the combination of Forsaken. The same with Garden was the combination of Shadowkeep. About the Vex, what the Vex had to do with the other things. The same with the new expansion with Europa. Crypt is the culmination of the exploration of Europa. They have to do more with the narrative inside the locations than the narrative of the main plot, because they do something similar to what 14. They try to have all the people experience the main plot without having to necessarily go to the raid. But they're the culmination of narratives inside the environments.
I see what you mean.
Yeah, that is Destiny 2 raids. Yeah, they're cool. I like them. I really like the Destiny 2 raids.
So what made them successful?
The puzzles, the absolutely the level design puzzles. That's what made them successful, because they were unique. Because as we said, all the majority raids was corridor arena to fight big boss, and this is like go to a location, do a bunch of puzzles, and then fight a big boss with a big ass level design puzzle in first person. Yeah, that's what makes them unique. Yeah.
I mean, if you like puzzles, yeah.
Yeah, if you like level design puzzles. If you like platformers, there you go.
If you like platformers.
Yeah. All right, and finally the Division 2 raid.
Yes.
Which is the big question that everybody had when they announced Division 2 raid, and is how Gears of War does raids. Basically, how a third-person shooter does interesting raid encounter mechanics and everything else in between. And level design, yeah, it's weird because there are real locations. But what they do in the real location is super interesting.
Not for the raid, really.
Okay.
I mean, that one is not a real location.
Yeah, technically speaking, no. The airport thingy and the forge thingy.
No, but again, one of the stronger points of the Division 2 in general is the level design.
Correct. Yeah.
And that comes across very well in the raid, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because again, it's one type of design where the environment is designed part of the fight.
Correct.
Even though you're fighting a big boss.
Yes. Correct.
But the environment itself, as in all the game, takes a very important part during the fight.
Yes.
Knowing where to stand, where to move the boss, or interacting with things
inside the level. Yeah.
Inside the environment, like And I remember for the first boss, you have the turrets that you had to use.
Yeah, correct. For the first encounter.
For the mechanic dogs, you'll have to use the environment to
take cover,
to shield yourself from the attacks.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it's very good, as all the level design in Division 2 is.
I think it's for me, it's a middle ground in terms of like arena design in between WoW and 14.
Correct, absolutely.
Because I definitely feel like very simple designs, but they are including the
complexity,
the environment in the fight.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
It's very simple. It's like, you have 4 things in each corner of the square, and you have to interact with the things. But also, I'll say that it's the first time that like a third-person looter shooter tries to do something like that.
Yeah, that's the other thing. And in my opinion, I think was successful. The raid was super cool. The 2 raids that are in the game are super interesting to run.
Are super good. I like them a lot, and it does it does a very good job of translating this tactical cover shooter into a raid with mechanics.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was
for example,
that was the big question that everybody had when the raids were announced. How to translate that.
And for example, to be perfectly honest, like throughout the normal missions, you don't see many mechanics.
Yeah, correct.
It's like mechanics on encounters are something that for the Division 2 is exclusive on the raid.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
So that's why also that was a question.
Yeah.
Of how this tactical core shooter is gonna
have proper mechanics that actually make synergy with their concept.
How does the fire on the ground looks in the Division 2?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they succeeded. They did a splendid job with both raids.
I do agree with you. The mechanics are very simple and very easy to learn.
Yeah.
But it works for a tactical.
In terms of bosses and ads, everybody felt like a little bit disappointed at the end of the first raid when you were fighting a black box basically in the middle of the room.
Yes, that was very disappointing.
But you have to have. I think everybody says like, okay, because you have to have in mind like how far you can stretch this.
How much padding can you put on a dude to make it a raid boss?
Exactly. How much armor can you give it to a dude without absolutely breaking the fantasy of reality, of like post-apocalyptic reality that you're selling, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's why it was a meme, but nobody says like, oh no, it's absolutely terrible. No, it's like, all right.
No,
you're
it's a good answer to a question on what would be the big boss at the end of a raid.
Yeah.
In a game that lives in the real world.
Correct. And the answer is an insane machine that makes drones and have big missiles. Okay, yeah.
How many veins in armor can you put?
Yes, again. And finally, lore implications for the Division 2. Their raids were generally self-contained.
They definitely were.
They're like big dungeons of like factions that has to do with the war, but not that much with the main narrative.
Not even. No.
Yeah.
No, sure. because Division 2 layer the narrative punches under Stronghold.
Yeah, correct.
Which are just larger missions.
Yeah, we are the dungeon versions of the Division 2.
I guess you can call them that. Yeah, they're dungeon versions of.
Yeah. So they deliver the narrative punches in the dungeons, and then the raids are mostly self-contained in terms of lore importance.
Yes, it's more. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So far, we good. We have good examples of raids here. So, Warframe raids. why it was bad.
Warframe Trials.
All right. So what did they do wrong in terms of level design in the Warframe raid?
I don't know if it was in the level design.
Okay. Let's go point to point. Like let's put it under the same lens.
Yeah.
So what do you think about the level design in the old Warframe raid, which I entered like once and did like the first part, and it was like, I what am I doing? I don't understand what. I'm gonna go and play Warframe.
I mean, it was fine.
Yeah.
It was as well designed as many other level in Warframe. The problem is that is not enough.
No.
For a raid.
No, absolutely not.
So it was lacking on that sense.
All right.
Warframe has a huge challenge designing levels.
Yeah.
Because the mobility, like the movement system is so broken and overpowered on the game.
Yeah.
It pretty much breaks any sensible form of level design.
Correct.
and that's something that Warframe has struggled with a lot.
Yes.
That doesn't mean that that the mission levels are not cool.
Mm-hmm.
But you can sort through them like
a bullet.
In the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
which makes making challenging puzzles / levels very difficult.
Yes, absolutely.
That's for example why so many games restrict player movement.
Correct.
And that's something that Warframe has been praised for, but it's something that is kind of shooting it on the face.
Yeah, it's like that's the price that you have to pay for having this amount of freedom movement.
Which, don't get me wrong, it's like I love the movement.
Yeah.
It's one of the best parts of the game.
We have praised it once and once again in this show that the movement in Warframe is what makes the game.
It's top tier.
Yeah. So that was just by starting it is broken.
It's gonna take a very new idea to.
Yeah. All right. What about mechanics inside the raid? I remember that you have to stand in a platform and then do something else. I don't remember.
The mechanics for the most part were puzzle, like kind of taking a number kind of from the Destiny book.
Yeah.
Puzzle, not in the sense of like not so much a platformer puzzle, but more of a puzzle in the Portal sense of puzzle.
Okay.
That you have triggers. It's not for the teleportation, but like things like you have triggers and doors and things.
Yeah.
That you have to activate in certain order or sequence, or that have to be then activated for a certain amount of time. That's why the main was that you have to stand in a little trigger thing that was the size of the character.
Yeah.
You have to stand there for a couple of seconds while the rest of the team was doing the things to trigger the next one so that someone could stay, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
That's what the meme is. Yeah, what was the difficulty on the Warframe trial? That no one could stand still.
Yeah.
On a Switch for a couple of minutes.
For more than 1 second. and like knowing the mechanics of Warframe, that makes absolute sense.
The game doesn't train you at all to stay still. That's not. It will be rare for you to even run in Warframe.
Yeah. On the contrary, it praise you for jumping around everywhere.
Wall running, for doing as much crazy shit as you can.
Yeah. What about
you really run?
This raid had bosses.
It did have some. The problem that I wouldn't call them bosses.
Okay.
Again, the boss was more the puzzle.
Okay. All right.
Again,
so,
it was very akin to Destiny 2.
Yeah. And the lore implication.
Lore. Warframe lore. It's again, the problem is that
was it self-contained?
it was self-contained.
All right. Okay. Fair enough. That's
and Warframe there again, it's kind of it has a unique challenge, and it's that since basically Warframe delivers its lore in such a sparse manner,
yeah,
it's difficult to find. It's difficult to deliver story punches in a raid.
fair enough. All right.
Because the main story punches come from quest on itself. Those are the emotional delivery.
All right, we're kind of running out of time, so let's go through the survey results, right? So the community wants raiding Warframes? Yes.
Of course we do.
Yes, we do want
the community
Warframes.
Doesn't know what that means. Like doesn't know what a raiding Warframe is, but we do want.
We
something.
want a raid. What is experience? We don't know, but we want one.
Yep.
Right? What is important for what those people want inside the raid? They want a cool boss and very good loot. Easy. Easy. Not a lot of people play the raid back in the day. Like 38% of the people.
Very inaccessible.
But a lot of people that plays Warframe plays raids. Right? More than half of people plays raids.
I mean, I'll guess that most Warframe players enjoy RPGs, which means that you either play WoW, 14, Destiny. So yeah.
Then it becomes really weird. Like, when should the raid fail? And everybody wants to wipe mechanic of some sorts.
I mean, that's kind of one of the staples of a difficult encounter. You need a fail condition.
Yeah. Everybody wants multiple difficulties in the raid, of course, like the standard.
That's nowadays very standard.
Yeah, everybody wants. This is the weirdest one. Not a lot of people want parkour in the raid. A lot of people want weird and different mechanics, which this is a dichotomy of the. I think this is the big problem of the community. My God, like that. This makes no sense to me.
It does make sense to me.
All right, explain it to me.
Because what could they mean by that? Like when they say parkour, it means that the raid is gonna be full of jumping puzzles.
All right. Okay. Yes. All right. I guess.
For Warframe, jumping puzzles.
If you put it in that sense, I understand why they don't want any of that. Yes, and in that sense, yes, I agree.
Because that's what parkour would mean.
Yeah, but for me, parkour is more of the nature of movement in Warframe that making puzzles.
No, but like you cannot take the movement away.
Yeah,
it's not that they don't want parkour. It's just that they don't want things that have to deal with parkour.
Yeah. Clearly, people don't want metas in the raid. Okay.
That's very hard.
Yeah. They don't want any kind of like super competition leaderboard or any of that nonsense.
Warframe is not about that.
Yeah. They want between 7 and 8 players, which in Warframe that sounds like insanity.
It's more than insanity. It's a technical challenge, I feel, which was one of the huge problems of the original trials.
Correct.
At 7 and 8, it's kind of like usual missions are 4. So how do we up the stake?
Double, like Destiny.
Yeah.
Like
which Destiny. it's like, to be fair, it's what all of the games do.
Yes.
What's a dungeon size for WoW? 5. What's the minimum raid size? 10.
There you go.
It can get bigger. It can get up to 30. But the minimum is 10.
10.
14. What is the dungeon size? 4. What is the trial size?
8. Yeah, there you go.
Destiny.
Normal.
6. it's kind of the easier way to make the easy choice to make the scale feel good.
And then petitions from the actual community to build a rave. Have intuitive mechanics. No time gating. Okay. No mastery.
The time gating comes from the Eidolon.
Yeah, okay, yes, I get it. No mastery.
You have to put something.
Yeah.
but I get what like you can put things like arcanes and mods and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That are good and give you power, but that they don't give you mastery.
Yeah.
Because again, putting mastery behind super difficult content means that a lot of people won't have access to it.
No, I imagine that this mastery lock is like you don't need a certain level of mastery to enter.
No, mastery lock should be mastery lock.
Yeah, absolutely, it should be mastery lock. Yeah. Fail states, no time objectives. Why?
Yeah. Since Warframe is such a high-paced game,
yeah.
if you want something that is timed, it's gonna be super fast.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I get it. Yeah. Less rewards instead of straight up failing. I don't know. No. That's not the spirit of the raid.
It fail.
Yeah, you fail. If you fail a counter, you fail an encounter.
That's what makes it difficult.
Yeah, get good, you noob.
I mean, if people want this raid idea of being the end all be all content, it has to
absolutely. Avoid one player failing the whole raid.
That's kind of very hard to avoid.
Yeah. Instance base. I agree with that.
Sure.
Roll queue.
I agree with that. Instant base is never gonna happen.
Yeah.
The networking background of
doesn't work like that. Yeah. We know it. You know it. Yeah.
That's a very stupid request.
Yeah. Roll queue.
Warframe doesn't have roles.
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Who is answering this?
I don't know. Crazy people.
Warframe has no roles.
Yeah, no, it's the same as Destiny. Destiny has no roles.
Yeah. Roll queue. What's the meaning of that?
No idea. No split squads.
Okay.
Possible with fewer players.
Nah.
Yeah, that's the Destiny possibility. That comes from Destiny because you have seen that people have even done some old raids solo and that sort of stuff.
Sure. Like okay, Warframe is not for rotating content.
Yeah.
So if they put something, the game is gonna stay there forever.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense that you can complete it at any point in Warframe's life with fewer players.
Yeah, fair enough.
Makes no sense.
Telegraph attacks in bosses. Okay. No visual overload. You already are failing at that when you put 8 Warframe players together.
When you put one.
Yeah.
Put one no on the team. Gone. I don't know. It's impossible. Like the only way is like, okay, you play Rhino.
That's no one shots. That's bad because if your boss fight is interesting, they sometimes have wipe mechanics, and that's a one shot technically speaking. Yeah. No static timers in missions. Allow multitasking. Okay.
Sure.
Secondary objectives. Okay. It's like more on the level design if you want to like a side quest inside your raid for some reason, but why?
A bonus objective.
You can have like hidden lore like in Destiny. And you have like actually achievements for finding hidden lore inside the raid dungeon.
Yeah, I guess.
Things like that. Yeah. Avoid janking hitboxes. Nobody can avoid that. And second, it is Warframe.
Again, but that comes from Eidolon.
Yeah. No
Invulnerability.
Thank you. Yeah. Again, if you have bosses with the stuff.
No, it can be. It cannot be the only thing.
Yeah.
Like across all the games that we have talked this episode, a lot of the bosses will have invulnerability phases.
Yeah.
That's normal. It just
Yeah.
cannot be the only thing. That's the problem. The problem is when all the boss has
the thing.
invulnerability phase.
Yeah. But that's a problem more of encounter design inside the raid than anything else.
Yeah.
Ability resistance instead of ability immunity. Okay, like, sure. That's not a concern inside a raid environment.
Not only that, but if you want any chance to have meaningfully difficult encounters, you have to have that.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, take 8 Novas, slow the shit out of whatever the fuck is going on,
and be done with it. Yeah.
Be done with it. Or have Limbo rifted or whatever.
Yeah. It's the same reason why a bunch of raid bosses are immune to CC. Like 90% of the CC of the crowd control abilities. Yeah.
Makes no sense.
Yeah. Evergreen rewards. Absolutely agree.
Sure.
Don't make the raid easier. Okay. Token system. Okay. That's a problem of the reward side of the thing. That's
a bigger problem in Warframe.
Yeah. To be a reasonable length.
That means many things.
That could mean anything. To be replayable. Okay, yes. And again, have no meta. Which
that's impossible.
All right. And the last exercise to close this very long episode is what we would do in Warframe raid to do a Warframe raid. Go, Lucho.
No idea.
All right. I imagine. This is what I imagine for all I've seen in Warframe. A bunch of small missions together, culminating in a boss like the Golem. You remember the big Golem that you kill in space?
The Golem in space.
Yeah. The Golem in space.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. So I would imagine like something like starting inside a railjack kind of environment to enter like a mega ship or something like that. Right?
Right.
That's what I will start it. Like a very cool, and then you fight a very big ship with your two frigates in railjack. That will be your first encounter. Like do a bunch of mechanics to kill a big ship or disable a big ship that is guarding the entrance to this mega ship. That will be my first point. That will be the entrance of the raid. Right? After that, you enter the raid. And then you do a small missions of Warframe, right? You go to counters, do some mechanics and clean stuff.
I like your idea. Can I improve it?
Sure.
Monster Hunter sieges. Like what's the main idea of the Monster Hunter siege? It's like if you think about it. Like for a Cool Tarot.
Yes. All right. Yeah.
3 different fights.
Yes.
But you can only for example, the first time you're not gonna go past the first fight.
Yeah.
But you have multiple groups of people doing it, so you need to fill a bar so that everyone can get to a second piece.
I know what you're trying to do. Yeah.
So now imagine that you have the same thing that you just described. You have a railjack mission, then a couple of usual Warframe missions like a defense or a survival, whatever.
Yes.
And a boss at the end.
Yes.
And you have multiple teams doing it at the same time. Cool Turret style. Like the first time that you go, most teams won't be able to pass the first one.
Yes. Most teams
until
won't be able.
all of you progress enough
to unlock the second phase.
Bypass to unlock the second phase. And
and then down the ship and start the new. Yeah, you can mash those too. I was doing like a classic raid, like you go 2 teams.
I know
blah. But in the sense of Warframe, because we and bringing like that thing that we like about that Warframe did about the missions when you have multiple progress in that could work. Like have a style Siege of Monster Hunter with phases, everybody involved, and like moving on into the main thing. Yeah, that could work. That could absolutely work.
That could work. That would be interesting.
Yeah.
That shared progress idea, I like. And imagine that it's because I'm working with the restrictions of Warframe.
Yes, that's what we're trying to do here. Yeah.
It's very unlikely that it's not going to be peer-to-peer.
Yeah.
That's just how Warframe is built.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that was like that proved to be the case with one of the fails. Like one of the reasons why trials fail was because it was a nightmare to maintain.
Yes.
Due to the netcode under.
Correct. Yeah.
Which means that basically whatever we do has to be peer-to-peer and has to work with the netcode that the game has.
Yeah.
The easier way to that is keep the 4-man team structure.
Yeah.
How do you up the scale? I feel like
the Monster Hunter style raid.
The Monster Hunter style, which was a similar thing that we did in one of the Warframe events.
Yeah.
Have this raid relay where you will host 3-4 teams of 4, which is 16 players at once.
Yeah.
And there you have I'm picturing something like very like techy. You just have all the screens that you can see all the progresses and stuff.
Yeah.
Since all the different teams will be coming and living at different paces.
Yeah.
It will help the accessibility problem because you don't necessarily need to have the full team on your own. You can have you can join instances, which is again one of the big problems for raids.
Yeah. But the Monster Hunter answer is a very good thing to work around the build right now of Warframe, because what I'm proposing will actually need to be built by its own, like 8 players in a blah, and then big ship.
And that's something that I feel DE will never do again because they already figured out it was a nightmare.
Yeah, fair enough. So your style type of raid, as in Monster Hunter works, because that's how Monster Hunter works. It's raids. You do.
It's raid-like encounter.
Yeah, it's raid-like. It feels super cool. Like that. Those the culture of another. It feels fulfilling and it feels.
It felt big whenever you when our culture happened and it was current.
Yeah. And
you'll go to like an instance of like 16 players all doing Kulturot.
Yeah.
And you could see the prompts of, this person that is not on your team broke this part of the monster, and it will appear and it will show how much that progress gave to the overall part. That those kind of prompts, for example, help the feel of, we're taking part in something
bigger. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. And even, for example, for Monster Hunter, those things were just mechanics that break the immersion because we're all killing the same
monster. Yeah.
For Warframe, you could put it in the setting of, we're just a bunch of things raiding this capital ship.
Yeah, correct.
So it makes sense that we're all attacking from different points, so we all have our
own because it's huge. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. There we go. All right. With that, let's go because we're late. All right. Questions and feedback. You can write in us and do all the things and comments and below, wherever. First question of the week. What's your favorite game director or game designer?
Probably Steve.
Steve Sinclair?
Yeah.
All right. From Warframe, mine.
From the Digital Extremes.
From Digital Extreme, probably Kojima. I love him. He's insane.
Get out of here with your walking simulator.
I know. I love the old Metal Gear franchise. His style of narrative is super cool. And I think he's crazy, so I like it.
This here is a real man of the people.
Yeah. All right, second question. How difficult is to coordinate all that many people into a single game?
A lot.
The answer is that is insanely difficult. That's why games are the most difficult thing to do in AAA quality and that sort of stuff. And yeah,
I mean, like any big enterprise.
Yeah,
a big part of the resources goes into just management.
Yeah, so super difficult. If you want to start making game, make it by your own or have a very small team.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, and that's it.
That's all for this week's episode.
We're so sorry.
We're sorry. Once again, thanks for tuning into The Sweaty, the Farmer, and the Game Design. My name is Lucho, and you can find me on Twitter at LuzGPolanco.
And I'm the London Gamer, and you can find me on Twitter at the London Gamer and on Twitch on twitch.tv/LondonGamerTV, where I stream. Follow me on your social media to know when I'm going live. Don't forget to share, like, subscribe, do everything social. We love you all. Thanks for coming. And we are so sorry to take like 20 minutes extra from your life. We still love you.
We love you.
Yeah. Thanks for coming to The Sweaty, the Farmer, and and the Game Design. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye. And did you know, although in Italy there are a number of recipes dedicated to Romanesco broccoli, in the rest of the world it is usually prepared like conventional broccoli. Like conventional broccoli, overcooking Romanesco will result in a texture some people will find unpleasant, so please don't overcook broccoli. This has been a public service announcement.
Romanesco leaves are crisp and chewy, with an earthy, nutty, and a slightly bitter flavor that becomes sweetened when cooked. This beautiful vegetable is a hybrid of cauliflower and broccoli.
Ah, so it's the bastard son of cauliflower and broccoli. That's why it's so weird.
Yep.
Oh, that makes so much sense. So yeah, if you're still hearing this, you have so much love for content. We are so sorry to take 20 minutes. We tried to keep it on time, but there was so much stuff to talk about.